So there I was, sitting at my desk at 7:43 in the morning, staring at an email ID drafted the night before. 3 sentences. I was pushing back respectfully, professionally on a deadline that genuinely wasn't possible. Not I don't feel like it impossible. Mathematically, factually, not possible. I had the numbers, I had the receipts. And I sat there for 11 minutes rereading those 3 sentences, softening the language, removing the word can't, replacing it with may present some challenges, adding a smiley face emoji at the end, deleting the smiley face, adding it back, then asking my coworker to read it, and she said, maybe just make it a little more positive. And I sat there thinking, how do I make this deadline is impossible sound positive? I sent the email with the smiley face. And here's the thing, that 11 minutes of quiet, anxious self-editing, that's not just about an email. That moment is everything I want to talk about today. Because that specific flavor of low-grade workplace dread is something I am willing to bet you've felt too. Maybe it wasn't an email. Maybe it was a meeting, a performance review, a conversation you rehearsed 17 times before saying out loud, and when you finally said it, it came out too honest, too real, too you. And you walked away thinking, I should have just said what they wanted to hear. Yeah, me too. Here's what nobody tells you when you start a job, any job. Doesn't matter if it's a startup or a Fortune 500 with a ping pong table, nobody actually uses there are 2 jobs happening at the same time. There's the job in your job description, and then there's the other job, the invisible one. The one where you're constantly reading the room, managing perceptions, calibrating your enthusiasm, choosing words like you're diffusing a bomb. Nobody assigns you that second job. Nobody puts it in the offer letter, but you figure it out. Because you have to. Because the people who don't figure it out get labeled difficult or not a culture fit, which is the most polite way the corporate world has invented to say, you aren't mirroring us well enough. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because most organizations will tell you loudly, proudly, maybe with a motivational poster in the lobby, that they value authenticity. They want transparency, psychological safety. They want you to bring your whole self to work. They want you to speak up. And they mean it. I genuinely think they mean it when they say it. And then you speak up, and something shifts. Not dramatically, nobody fires you, nobody yells. Just a slight temperature drop in the room, a shorter reply than usual. Your idea gets acknowledged and quietly set aside, and you feel it, that small signal, and you file it away. Next time you run your thoughts through the filter first. Is this safe to say? Will this land well? Is this too much? And before you know it, you're editing yourself constantly, and you don't even notice anymore because it just becomes how you operate. That's the invisible pressure, right there. That's it. Now, this is not about blaming your boss. It's not about dragging your company. Most managers are doing the invisible job too, just a few floors up. What I am talking about is systemic, baked into the structure itself. In most workplaces, the reward doesn't go to the person who's most honest. It goes to the person who's most effective at managing their image. And the system is really good at making you think those 2 things are the same. You start to believe that adapting yourself is the same as growing, that shrinking your opinions is the same as being professional, that agreeing with people in power is the same as being collaborative. And you've been doing it so long you can't tell the difference anymore. Think about the last time someone said something in a meeting you disagreed with, not something offensive, just something you thought was wrong, a flawed plan, a bad assumption. What did you do? If you're being honest, you probably said nothing and waited for someone else to bring it up. Or you softened it so much your actual concern got lost in the politeness. Or you said, just playing devil's advocate here, because devil's advocate gives your honest opinion a kind of plausible deniability. I'm not judging any of that. I've used all those moves. They work in the short term. But what is the cumulative cost of filtering your honesty through a professional politeness machine for years? I'll tell you what it does. It makes you tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. It's not physical exhaustion, it's more like a flatness. A low hum of effort running in the background even when you're not at work. You're on a Saturday doing nothing and you're still composing emails in your head. Still managing. Still performing. And the wild thing is, from the outside you look fine. You look great, actually. People say you're easy to work with. Part of you loves that. But there's a quieter part wondering, is the person Thea calling easy to work with actually you? Or just a well-trained version of you that knows exactly how to disappear at the right moment and show up at the right moment and never take up too much space. And then there's the language organizations use that makes all of it worse. We're a family here. Man, that hits different when you first hear it. It feels warm, human. But over time, you notice that phrase gets deployed in specific moments right before someone asks you to work over a holiday weekend, or when you raise a concern about workload and the responses we all have to pull together. Because where a family creates an emotional pressure that a more honest phrase like we're a team with shared goals and individual contracts does not. And nobody wants to be the person who doesn't care about the family. Same thing with passion. How many job postings say they want someone passionate about what they do? Almost all of them. And on the surface, that sounds amazing. But what passion as a job requirement actually does is raise the emotional bar for your employment. It implies that if you're not bringing genuine excitement every single day, you're somehow underperforming not professionally, emotionally. And so you perform the passion. Because you need the job. Because nobody is genuinely passionate about another status update meeting, but you find a way to look like you are. And performing something that's supposed to be intrinsic is exhausting is the only word for it. Here's what this does to people over the long haul. You start to doubt yourself, not in a dramatic crisis kind of way, just a low-grade erosion. You become less sure of your instincts. You've spent so long questioning whether your authentic responses are appropriate responses that you start losing track of which is which. You overinvest in external validation. A good performance review becomes relief. A compliment from your manager becomes disproportionate happiness. Silence becomes quiet panic. You've outsourced your professional self-worth to the reactions of other people, and you didn't even notice it happening. And the really subtle one, you start becoming invisible to yourself. You get so good at making everything look effortless that nobody sees the effort. And because nobody sees the effort, after a while, you stop seeing it too. You forget how hard you work. You just think of it as how I am. Not recognizing that who you are at work is a carefully constructed, continuously updated performance that takes something from you every single day. Not your soul. Just some of your bandwidth. Some of the energy that could go toward actually building things, solving problems, thinking creatively. Instead, it goes toward managing the invisible job. A few years back, I was in a one-on-one with a manager I really respected. And I was doing the thing presenting my challenges as areas for growth, my frustrations as opportunities to learn, my exhaustion as I've just been really busy. All the right phrases. And she looked at me and said, "You don't have to do that here. Just tell me what's actually going on." And I froze. Because I had been so deep in the performance for so long that dropping it, even for a second, felt dangerous. Not because she would punish me, but because I had genuinely forgotten how to trust my own instincts. I sat there trying to figure out what was actually going on, having spent months expressing everything through a filter that had become so automatic I stopped noticing it was there. That's what the invisible pressure does. It doesn't break you. It just gets in between you and yourself. Slowly. Quietly. So here's where I want to land this. The system isn't designed against you. Organizations are built to produce outcomes optimized for output, efficiency, optics. They are not optimized for individual authenticity or individual flourishing. That's not their job. That's you. And the sooner you stop expecting the organization to do that job for you, the freer you'll feel. Notice the filter. That's the whole first step. Not removing it, I'm not going to tell you to just bring your whole self to work as if that's risk-free for everyone in every situation, because it isn't. But notice it. Notice the moments you're editing yourself. Notice when you're performing enthusiasm you don't feel. Notice the smiley face at the end of the email. Not to beat yourself up, just to see it. Because that gap between what you're saying and what you mean is information. It tells you something about the environment you're in and the adaptations you've made to survive it. And separate the system from yourself. The adaptations you've made aren't character flaws. They are rational responses to real pressures. The ability to read a room, manage perceptions, know when to push and when to hold, that's actually a sophisticated skill set. The question is just whether you're using it consciously, or whether it's using you. You'll still write emails with smiley faces sometimes, we all will. But when you understand the system well enough that it doesn't run you by default when you make that choice with intention instead of fear, that's not compliance anymore. That's craft. And there's a real difference between the two. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.